Hey guys, welcome back to My Type of Shit, a podcast where we talk about shitty types. I'm just kidding. No, we talk about Myers-Briggs stuff and like personality stuff and other stuff. So just shitty
We're talking
things.
about shitty
Um,
types this episode.
yeah, so today we're going to talk about the ESTP personality. Um, this is I feel like a very extreme personality, and the way we're choosing these personalities is, actually, Shaun, would you like to say how we're
Oh,
choosing that?
well, we're gonna go through each one, but we're just using a random thing picker. It's if you Google random thing picker, it's just it just generates a we're just putting the types in, we're generating a random. So, so yeah. This is the type that got generated first, so this is the type we're talking about.
Which this actually is coming at a great time because if any of you guys who are listening to us follow Lovelu, she's right now about to have Dave's superpowers on her channel to tell her whether or not she's an ESTP or an ENFJ. So that's pretty interesting. It's actually pretty good timing, even though it's all randomized.
Yeah. I thought she already posted the video.
It's a teaser, I
Oh,
think.
it's an announcement. Oh, I see. Tricky, tricky girl. I'm just kidding.
ENFJ confirmed. No, just kidding.
Okay. Uh, so I guess what we should start with then. Do you guys want to start with the description of the ESTP? By the way, I don't actually think they're a shitty type. I'm just giving them a hard time.
All
Uh,
types are shitty types on this channel.
yeah.
Yeah, we're all shitty in some ways. I mean, we all shit. We all poop, so
Oh
just
yeah,
kidding.
you're right.
Everybody poops.
Okay, but yeah, that's
Uh,
probably a good idea, Shaun.
could we could start with like a description of the type, or we could talk about like ESTPs we know. We could get into that later though, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, vaguely, I think that they lead with an observational function, which means they're constantly looking into the external world and just
Yes.
making observations. So they don't make immediate judgments, they see objectively around them. And so, like ENTPs, they can just be observant types and they can actually be really good at seeing what's actually going on and being able to call people out on things. Except they're more focused on the real concrete world than say an ENTP who's more abstract.
Yeah,
But
that is something interesting, is because my father is an ESTP, but my sister's an ENTP, and watching them do such a similar like process, I would say. I don't know if process is the word. The way they attack the world is so similar, but I can distinctly notice the difference of like one's doing it in a more abstract way, whereas one's just doing it in a purely sensory way. It's interesting.
I'm
Uh,
actually not gonna lie, I'm really jealous of ESTPs in the fact that they can be so aware of the external world without really having the filter like I have with my intuition. It's actually something that makes me jealous.
Yeah, they're so aware of the real world. Like they live in it 24/7, like constantly making noises. You'll sometimes hear them like humming around, like just doing the most. Okay, honestly though, I've like in my experience, like I'm not the most compatible with this type mainly because like I feel they also do ask a lot of questions, but their questions are always pertaining to something in their environment. So they'll say like they'll like look up, they'll look at the door, and then they'll ask like something pertaining about the door. They don't ever ask anything abstract. It seems like I just want to talk about abstract concepts, crazy things, and they're over here talking about, hey, what did that noise come from? Like that's the questions you'll hear from. I'm serious too. It's not like some of the time. Like these are questions I deal with all the time from them. Just very, very, very commonly they'll ask a question pertaining their environment, or like something in their five senses, of course. Um, that's not even stereotyping. That's just my experience with them often.
Yeah, yeah, and I've noticed that even though this might be stereotypical, at least the ones that I've seen, they seem to be a little bit of like adrenaline junkies.
Uh, yeah, that may be so. A
Yeah.
few of these characteristics I've listed here though from the Michael Pierce video. Shout out Michael Pierce. He says usually likes sports. Yeah. Oh no, that was mine. That was mine. They actually usually do like sports. In my experience, this is not even a point that he made. This was something I put above his. like I'd say like 7 or 8 to 10 ESTPs tend to like sports. It's kind of like how you would expect
Hmm.
like certain types to lean towards certain things. Like, that would be a very common thing. Like athletic wise, a lot of them like sports. Just put it that way. They're the guys who are putting on football on Football Sunday. They're the guys who are watching March Madness right now. I ain't turning
Oh.
that on. It's like,
Oh.
yeah,
That's funny. Okay, so I'm gonna add to that a little bit. My ESTP roommate, he watched Sunday football
yep,
religiously.
yeah.
He's obsessed with his team. He gets so into the game. He's screaming at the TV when they lose. He's screaming when they win. You never know if it's good or bad because he's just screaming all the time watching the game.
Yeah.
My boss, who's an ESTP, also loves football. He actually pretty much like, he's obsessed with his team, his local team in his city, um, and like, he brings it up in every single possible conversation. He's like, "I don't know anything except about football and my team."
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's I mean, I it's like that for a reason, Like I pretty much their type is very centric to sports. They actually would be usually good at it, but I think they actually enjoy watching it more than they enjoy playing it. I don't know,
Interesting.
in my experience. But that's maybe I don't know. Some of the other characteristics here, just going down the line, lacking intellectual interests in exchange for street smarts and common knowledge. What do you guys think about that?
I don't
Yeah.
think that's necessarily true. Also, I wanted to go back to the first, like, being with the extroverted world. For those of you that may want to think of it cognitively, they're they lead with extroverted sensing, SE. But yeah, as far as the intellectual thing goes, I think maybe when you first get to know ESTPs, they can come across as like pretty shallow people in a way, or like just surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not shallow. Like, I think when we think of shallow, it's more of like the stereotypical ESFJ or something. But like for ESTPs, they may come across as um, like there's nothing really going on up there. But
Yeah, yeah.
my experience is that they have a very, like, especially if they tap into this, they have a very intellectual side to them, and they can be very interested in like learning new topics, but
That's
it's not
true.
something maybe they do when they're super young.
Or immature, like, less developed, I think, as well.
And
Yeah.
what's crazy is like I'll talk about my dad because like the thing is so I'm INTJ, he's ESTP, and growing up like I never got like along with him that much because of the incompatibilities. Like we were just not into the same things. We didn't think the same way. Like there was just so much incompatibilities, and it made it hard. And like the thing about it is like I always thought he was like not that smart or like the things like his way of operating. Because like at the end of the day, all humans like we kind of do all want to learn, but we just like to learn some things. But like I'm just like a natural learner. Like I just love it from the ground up. And so I just never understood why he wasn't like me. But the truth is like he knows a lot about things that I just know nothing about. Like home maintenance. Like he's like right now he's like fixing up the wall. He's like painting it, mudding it. Like I could never do that. He's really good at like keeping like care of the house, and he's super good with like trivia. Like he's like trivia smart.
Hmm.
Like is that weird or what? Like I could watch Jeopardy and know nothing, but like I'm good with systems and things like that. But him, he's just a trivia god. And like to me, I'm just not like that. But I can respect it. So it's not that they're not smart. They're just smart in ways that I don't appreciate. So I'm glad you pointed that out, Emily. It's like that. It's not that they're shallow. It's just that they take a different approach to their intellectual interests.
Yeah.
And they could think us stupid for being so outside of reality sometimes.
No, and
Yeah.
I actually think that's true. I mean, from my experience, I will have to say this disclaimer. I don't know too many ESTPs in my, like, there's probably many ESTPs that are around me, but not in my inner circle. Um, I have not known too many in my real life. But at least online, I have seen where there are certain ESTPs that can get a little bit frustrated by, let's say, like INFPs or like certain personalities that are very much in their like la la land, like you were
Yeah,
talking about Michelle earlier.
Mhm.
And that can be very frustrating for them because they're just like, what are you like? This is not real. What are you doing? Kind of thing.
I think
Exactly.
NI does have a tendency to live in a la la land to some degree as well, so I could see why that is the case. I think a lot of it does just come down to they always live in the real world, like that's it.
Right.
Like or at least that's their primary. They're just always in tune with their surroundings and their sensory environment.
And I would even say that's like an ESTP maybe at its essence, like before they really dive into personal growth. And I think there's definitely a spectrum between all of the types. I think each personality type, it just depends. Shout out to LJ. She's an INTJ on YouTube. Her name's Lindsay, and she was talking about in one of her videos. This wasn't about ESTPs, but I thought it was interesting. She was talking about how each of the personalities are like just like a generic car, or like a type of model of a car, and then you add certain accessories or certain parts, and it makes it like a, I don't know, like a either a better model or a worse model. Um, I don't know if that if I explained that correctly, but basically you can be a certain type. Everybody, like, let's say there's the 16 models, the 16 types, and you can choose to develop your functions, you can choose to develop yourself, or you can choose to live in what you find most comfortable.
To
Right.
further that model, you could even say you could choose to turbo boost the engine,
Yes,
or you could just let the car continue to run until it wears down and you forget your oil change.
that's a really good way to put it, Michelle. I love that.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think there's an underdeveloped and a developed version of every type.
Yeah.
But what would a developed version of an ESTP look like to you guys?
I think they'd have healthy ability um, to kind of persuade people to do what they want them to do and to do it from a genuine place. For example, my boss, he he is very good at saying things to you in a way where he gives you the power, but at the same time, like, either decision that you make, he's going to work with. Like, he wants you to make either decision. He's given you these
Yeah,
decisions because he knows either one he can work with, but then he's gonna give you that decision to make what you want from either of those 2 choices, or 3 choices, or however many choices he gives you. But he has contingency plans for all of them. Maybe not, like, very well-defined plans, but he has some kind of plan for whichever choice you
I wouldn't even
choose.
call it a plan at all. I'd say they're just capable. They're just so
Right,
capable. They love they just love the variety. They'd almost prefer the chaos
right.
because that's where they thrive. Like,
Oh, that's actually funny you say that because my boss said exactly that at a meeting the other day. He's like, "I hate the steady state, like, bring
yeah,
on the crazy season, I'm ready for it," and he gets this, like, giant smile, and he gets all
yeah.
pumped, and he, like, starts drinking his Red Bull.
And one thing that
Oh
Michael
my
Pierce
gosh.
made clear in his video was it's not like they don't like the hunt or like the end result. Like they just like the hunt for like the process of the hunting. You know?
Mhm.
Like that's why they like it. And that's fascinating to me. I can't relate. I can't relate, but like you already know.
You're the opposite of that pretty much, right?
Yeah, well he was giving the comparison to the ENTJ who
Mm.
they will to power, so to speak. It's all about the end result. Like they like the hunt just for the the prize at the end, and I can relate to that personally. But
I
yeah,
can actually see ENTJs and ESTPs not getting along very well, actually.
well they're both tend to be a bit leadership, you know.
Mhm.
They would
I
just
think that
attack it
would
differently.
almost be like an alpha thing, like too many alphas in a room.
Right.
That's funny as hell. Yeah,
Not a socionic alpha, but just A-type
Yeah.
personality.
Yeah, that's a good distinction there, Michelle. Because, yeah, I'm not talking yeah, I'm definitely not talking about the quadras because neither the ESTP or the ENTJ are in the alpha quadra. So they are in the beta for ESTP and the gamma for ENTJ, but I digress.
She knows her shit. She did her homework.
Right?
Um, but ESTPs though, as much as they are just assholes, like in the true sense of the word asshole, was probably made from these people. They're
Hmm.
also really good at making people feel comfortable. Like they
Yeah,
are.
oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like a developed ECP, they have empathy. They really do.
Oh
Like
yeah.
more than I'm capable of, and in a very different way, mostly due to the extroverted feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think well-developed ESTPs have a lot of extroverted feeling because you got to think a lot of times people fluctuate between their first and third functions. And a well-developed ESTP is going to have an awareness of their external world. They're going to see everything that's going to go on. And they're going to have this desire to play with their third function, which is like everyone's kind of like favorite function, even though, it's not the most developed. It's one that we like to use a lot. So they're going to like to go about changing the external world to make other people happy. Like they like doing that. That's just something that is easy for them and it's something that they get joy out of and they like seeing people ha- be comfortable and have a good experience. They like giving experiences to people.
That's interesting. Yeah.
They are a bit impatient though. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
they can be. They like you said about your boss though. They do want to keep it going, keep it moving. Like sometimes my ESTP that I work with, which he is okay. So one thing I should say about this guy is he's the first ESTP I've come across that he's noticeably higher IQ than the other ones I've had to deal with in my life. So he's smart, but he's still smart in a way that's not compatible with my intellect. And the issue is he's smart in a technical way. He basically an ESTP's version of smart, and this is what I learned from him because he's the smartest ESTP I know. Uh, is that they'll use overly technical terms to kind of confuse our clients, and but in the end, he has control over it. Like at the end of the day, he has control
Mm.
over that email, and it's not that he's not explaining it to you, and it's not that he's doing it in a great way, in a way that no one else is capable. But he's using extremely technical terms that a lot of people would like. They're like, "What the hell is he saying?" It's still intellect,
Mm.
though. It's still intellect. You cannot
Oh, my
claim
boss says
otherwise.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Isn't
knows
it
how
weird?
to like he knows how to he's like, that stereotypical like lawyer persona that knows how to like manipulate the laws in
Mm-hmm.
just the right way where you can take advantage of them and find the loopholes. Like I think it's ESTPs that find the loopholes in laws. Um and I think it was Lovelu who said, like, she breaks rules just for the heck of it, just, like, to show that she can or something like I can't remember exactly how she said, but she just said that, like, ESTPs in general love breaking the rules for whatever reason. Like, there's no, like, logical reason behind it, they just like pushing boundaries.
Yeah, they are competitive too, like extremely competitive. Like some of the ESTPs I've met. So I do play a lot of video games, and like one of my friends, ESTP, he will binge on a game like when it first drops, like so much to the point where he's like the highest whatever. Like they're super competitive when they get in their grind. Like they're very aggressive with it. Like whereas I'll try to see it out in the long run, they'll just all at once right in the beginning.
Mm.
Like okay, I have played chess against my dad before, and it's very like a lot of the games are the exact same way. Is where I play for the late game, and he just brings his queen out within the first 15 turns, and sometimes he wins. It's not. I'm kind of stereotyping there. He doesn't always bring the queen out, but you get what I'm saying. Like extremely aggressive moves, high risk,
Mm.
high reward. Plays the early to mid game. Like I'm there, to get the most value out of every piece. Play strategic. Not that I can't be aggressive or that he can't be passive, but that's kind of that seems to be the relationship with the
Tendency.
ESTP. Yeah,
Right.
where their style of play in terms of competitive wise is very aggressive. I don't know if you guys
Mm.
take them as aggressive people.
Maybe I turn into an ESTP when I play games because I'm very aggressive.
Well, you do have
It's your subconscious, right?
I know, I'm
extroverted
just
sensing,
kidding.
right?
I'm just joking. Yeah, it's like the positive opposite of an ESTP would be an INFJ,
Yeah.
and vice versa. And that's a Myers-Briggs. So,
Yeah, it's hard to detect an ESTP's introverted intuition too, because I do know some um, ESTPs online as well, and they have predicted the future before. NI is usually decent at seeing things through, like long term, and decent at making predictions. And they have done very niche predictions. Like one ESTP I knew predicted Donald Trump being president, a long time ago, like 2012. I don't know, just weird things. I don't know, just very odd things. They're right about things that other people don't give them credit for. So their NI, while it's kind of weak, it's there. I don't know how to explain the fourth function to people. I don't. The fourth function's a weird
I
thing.
think, like, honestly, the fourth function is one that you have the least control over, but you're still kind of good at it. Like,
It's a weird
it's,
relationship. What do you think, Emily, about the
I
fourth
wouldn't say
function?
you're necessarily good at it, but
Yeah,
you really value it. It's something that you're always seeking towards. So like it's almost like, I mean, we're not going to go into our conversations we had earlier, but it's like when you're trying super hard for something and like you're going to like value that a lot more than say something that's a lot easier for you to do.
right.
So,
yeah. I do. I do see their use of NI. Me being an NI dom, I see their use of it, and I wanted in the beginning I want to just call it trash, but it's not though. I mean it is, but it isn't. They can still use it. They just use it in very weird ways. I don't know.
Yeah, actually, there's this interview I watched where a girl had an ESTP on her channel, um, and they were talking about how this ESTP on her channel was actually really good at manifesting in a way. So, like,
Yeah.
having a vision for what they want and making it happen, but not realizing until after they have it
Right.
that they
Yeah.
manifested their vision
Yeah. Exactly.
necessarily.
Like
Like,
me.
it's
Yeah. I if
it's
I
less
manifest.
intentional than an IDOM, I would think.
Yeah. Like if let's say Emily manifests NI dom, right? She like when the result comes, she already knew in the beginning. She knew instantly because that's what she went for. Whereas they will do it without even realizing. I think. I don't know. It's different. I don't think they're planners at all though. They're very lackluster, especially the coworker of mine. He uh he comes in at random times. There's always something. It's just there's always something that's going on, and it's like I know I don't know about you guys, but my life is not as sporadic. I can get my shit down to the minute. I go into work to the same minute, leave at the same minute. Like I don't know how they're getting that much variety in their life, but like yeah, I don't know.
I think for you that might be extroverted thinking as well because I know I have a little bit of variety. A little bit of variety when I come into work, but it's actually not. I mean, I can gauge it to the minute too. It's
Yeah,
probably not what like the ESTP you're talking about.
yeah, but one thing I've noticed with the ESTPs is like someday you can really see when they're bored. Like they make it apparent to
Mm.
their environment and the people around them. Like it's almost as if they're telling me I'm bored as fuck right now. Like that's what. But I don't know if everyone else is detecting it. I guess, but I know I
No, I
can.
know what you mean. I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah.
I definitely have seen that as well. Um, I'm thinking about an experience that's not really necessarily related to that, but I thought it was pretty funny. Um, so we're at a bar, me, my boyfriend, and my ESTP roommate, and we're having a discussion about the speed of light.
Mhm.
And the ESTP says, "We know what the speed of light is." You know, they're like, "We know what it is." And I'm over here like, "Okay, when have we actually had something go from A to B in exactly a year and measured exactly like the distance that it went in a single year. When have we actually measured the speed of light? And he's like, it doesn't
Oop, yeah,
fact.
Oh, Michelle, I think you cut off a little bit.
yeah. What
Oh.
was the joke? What was your response to that?
Oh wait, where did I cut off? Now I don't know.
You said you can't measure the speed of light.
Yeah, I said you can't measure the speed of light. When have we actually sent somebody out into space 1 light year away and measured the exact distance that light went from A to B in exactly a year? We can't do that. So there's no way that we can 100% prove the speed of light. And he just kept going on and on about how the speed of light is a consistent fact, like he views it as like an inverifiable fact.
Yeah.
um and I'm just like, you know, and I was playing devil's advocate a little bit. I was getting like
Yeah.
but anyway, I thought
That's
it was
kind of
kind of
weird. You're
funny.
almost out censoring. That's not a word, but still, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, you can't see it, so it's not real. Like, just to be fair to your buddy that you were arguing, you don't have to see something for it to be true. Not everything has to be five senses proven. We know things as fact without ever having to see them.
Well, we know things as theory.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely agree with Michelle there because I think what Michelle's saying is not necessarily seeing it, it's the fact that how have we ever actually measured it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
And
I was
he's just,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the scientists have done something. I don't know. Anyway, I guess that's a good point. I don't know. They are interesting debaters. I don't know what to make of
Mm-hmm.
them. What usually in arguments with ESTP is my experience. Basically, how it goes is pretty much the same way as the chess game. Like a lot of this stuff I have worked out because they're actually very predictable to me, at least for me. But they're very aggressive in the beginning. But if you can argue them for long enough, they'll just give up. So all you have to do is like wait them out. It's very hard though. Most people don't. Like every debate I've had against the ESTP, like let's say it's me debating an ESTP and there's three people witnessing it. It's going to appear as if he's winning for the first 15 minutes, but eventually there will be a breaking point and he'll just it's not as if his argument just gets like overtaken. He just falls apart. They just lose all their momentum. So they're very aggressive people in almost every realm of life. It's very
Yeah,
interesting.
well, I mean, in terms of the debate conversation, they have the introverted thinking in the second slot, which, like an ENTP, means that they want to understand how things work and just want to understand things for the sake of understanding them. And if they have an idea of how something works, they're going to stick with that until something comes in that can counteract that. So, in an argument, they've come to some introverted thinking conclusion. They're not going to give that up so easily. And their normal method of attack is that more aggressive, and it works for them a lot of the times. Um, and it's not until you can give them enough stuff to counteract their introverted thinking framework that they will actually like accept whatever it is that you're debating, like accept your opinion or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know one other thing too is I don't know if this is written down anywhere in any other sources. I don't know if this is sourced or not, or if anyone else has noticed this, but a lot of them seem to like really like substances, like
Mm.
alcoholics or like potheads, etc. Like so, I don't know. They're just obviously it would make sense, given their sensory extroverted sensing first function that they would like substances.
Well, my old roommate would smoke bongs and dabs
Yeah,
from like morning, noon, and night, like all day, just like excessively high
yeah,
amounts. And I'm just
excessive.
like,
Yeah,
how do you function right now? Like, how are you aware of anything? Like,
yeah. That's one thing I notice about that type. It's not
yeah.
it's not written in stone, but uh,
No, actually, that's one of the reasons that I think that my brother was an ESTP. It's hard to know now given the situation, but I do think that he was an ESTP as well, because that's actually um, something that he did a lot of substances and they like really had a huge impact on him and like helped him as like a coping mechanism, et cetera, et cetera. Um, just wanting to have those kind of like sensory experiences, not really for any other reason than a sensory experience.
Yeah, Emily, do you have any experiences with ESTPs? Like, how many have you known?
Um, it's interesting that you say that because so one of the ESTPs that I know in real life, well, I was telling you guys before this, so I dated an ESFP when I was 20, and one of his really good friends at the time is an ESTP. And yeah, he was pretty hardcore with a lot of stuff as well. And I did find that I think it's interesting that there's like this trend, and I don't think that all ESTPs are this way because I can't believe I even forgot about this. Wow. Okay. No, I do know
That's
an
NI right
ESTP
there.
really well. I
Just
do
so
know
you
an
guys know.
ESTP really well.
Just so you guys are aware, that's NI right there. Like, oh, like that right there is
I
introverted
literally
thinking.
just forgot. Okay, so actually, one of my really good friends is an ESTP.
My God.
Okay.
Wow, failure. No.
So
Just
my
kidding.
okay. Oh my gosh, sorry if you guys can hear Henry in the background. Shout out to the ESFP Henry, the dog. I'm just kidding.
She's
Well, not really, but
piping her
okay.
dog, dude.
So so one of my best friends, her name's Rachel, and she's an INTJ, and she's actually married to an ESTP. So it definitely can be a match. But it definitely can be challenging. He is an ESTP, but he's also a very straight edge ESTP. He has not ever done any kind of substance, and he chooses not to drink. Um, and I think that has to do with a few different things, but I think he wants to have control of himself. Like maybe he realizes that he can go extreme. I'm not sure. I would have to ask him.
Yeah, maybe it's not as much about the fact that they do substances that I was pointing out, but more the way. Like, they do kind of go crazy. Like, they want to get the highest of all high, or they want to get the drunkest of all drunk. Like that, at least in my experience.
Hmm.
But yeah.
I've noticed that with ESFPs as well, but we can
Yeah,
always
that would
talk
make
about that
sense. They have
another
the
time.
same dominant
Right.
function, right? Yeah, it's just the extroverted sensing that does that.
You know, another trend I've seen amongst a lot of ESTPs that I know um, is a love for music and playing music, and like a certain way that they get into playing music. For example, my roommate and one of my friend's dads are both ESTPs, and there's something about the way that they get excited about playing music. They love just like getting into it and getting involved in the music and improvising and just going with the flow of wherever the music takes them.
Yeah, I think that maybe more adequately describes like an ESFP or an ISFP, but I do think like the ESTPs I know, they do definitely like they're obviously, as much as the rest of the senses, they like music as well. You know, they get the other ones singing it. You know, like me, if I listen to music, I don't know. It's not that I don't sing ever, but it's just that, you know, they get really into it. I guess I agree to a degree.
Oh, I guess I meant as musicians, like as actually playing
Oh
instruments.
yeah, I guess I wouldn't be able to relate to that though. So you're telling me that that EST you know a couple ESTP musicians?
Hmm. Yeah, my roommate played bass. Well, actually, he played basically any instrument, but his main instrument, like for his band, is bass. And then my friend's dad is also an ESTP, and he played guitar and actually a little bit of drums and a little bit of bass.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that though. I could see that. That would
Yeah,
definitely.
I think there's a lot more ESTP musicians than people would probably know. I think that music pulls a lot of different personality types, but I think people with extroverted sensing can be easily drawn into the excitement of music because it does rely so heavily on like your senses, like its sound and its feeling, and like especially like to play live, like there's like to feel the music and to feel it, like, impacting other people, I feel like that's a very, like, extroverted sensing realm.
It should also be mentioned here that ESTPs are the most rare sensing type.
Really?
Yeah, and on this chart, and this kind of data is only so useful, but it's some data. I always say some data is better than no data.
Right.
Uh, but here we go. Yeah, 4.3%. That's what this chart says. So
Wow,
even if
that's less than ENFP.
yeah, it's less than ENFP by a decent margin too.
Right.
So I mean, even if you go to a different chart, they'll still be quite rare. Like yeah, 4% based on this. So yeah.
I don't know what our world would do if we had too many ESTPs though.
Yeah, I think we're good with how many we have. They're good people though. Like they're they're super good with people too. Like as much as I don't know. In my experience though, okay, this is my experience with the ESTP. When I keep them at bay, when I keep them, at somewhat of a distance, when I don't get too close to them, it's a great connection. They're honestly probably one of my favorites at that kind of connection where it's just like they're super good acquaintances. They're super good, like when you don't have to shoot towards a common goal together with them. But whenever I've gotten too close to them, I've just had serious incompatibilities and issues where, you know, I don't know. One thing that this description here does say also is that they can be uh somewhat self-centered in relationships. Is that what this is here? Yeah, in a relationship. Let me see. I don't know. I remember when I was little, I used to think my dad was super selfish. I don't know. It can be perceived that way. I'm not to say that they actually are. I think it's just more since they're so always concerned in the moment, and it might appear as if they're always concerned with themselves, but not that they don't have empathy, as we mentioned with the extroverted feeling. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to say about the extroverted feeling aspect of ESTPs? Because they definitely do have emotions, like they do. Like they'll get
Hmm.
sad, like
That's the thing. When they get an emotion, it's right out there for everyone to see.
yeah, that's kind of true.
Like, for example, my roommate, actually, I think I want to talk about this also in relation to how it can be frustrating for people who are not extroverted sensing and who don't live in the moment. Um, so like um, if he got upset about something, he would let you know immediately. Like there was no harboring of things. He would let you know. However, like if he felt uncomfortable around you, he was going to act a little uncomfortable around you. He'd try to put on the charm, but he would still act a little uncomfortable around you. That being said, as an extroverted intuitive, I'm always reading between the lines that sometimes aren't there. And I think with ESTPs, being around ENFPs specifically, I'm talking about personal experience, is it's really hard to know or to tell yourself, like, there's not actually anything more than you see. What you see is actually just really how they feel, and you need to stop looking into things. Um, and another thing, like when he would get upset, like he would get upset if you said something about something that happened a few weeks ago. He'd be like, "Oh, I thought we already dealt with that. Why are you mad about something that was weeks ago? Why didn't you tell me weeks ago when it happened that you were upset? Why are you just telling me now?" Like things like that. That would be a major disconnect between like a more intuitive person and an extroverted sensor, is that like I think it's easier to harbor onto things and to see the patterns and to like get upset about the patterns. And they are just like in the moment, like, why are you getting upset about something that's already happened? Why didn't you tell me when it happened, etc.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty true. I don't know. ESTPs are interesting characters in general. Like, I find ESTPs to be very natural manipulators. And I think of like a kind of, I feel like they're the stereotypical kind of salesman, like almost
Mm,
like car salesman.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
And yeah, it's interesting because they are very good at like just convincing people of things, but in a different way than like say an ENTP.
Mhm.
mm.
Yeah, which they are also ENTPs are master manipulators of their
Oh yeah.
environment.
They have little strings on everyone. We'll
Holy
talk about that at
cow.
some point.
Yo, but if ENTPs are a god type in terms of manipulation, I'm sure ESTPs are too, but I just can't notice it. I'm sure they're because one of these flaws here I'm looking at on this personality page I'm looking at here, it says maybe manipulative, taking advantage of other people's weaknesses for their own gain. That's one of their
Hmm.
potential problem areas. Now, I don't mean to single out their issue. I'm merely just bouncing off of what Emily said. They have tons of pros too. We're actually doing a pretty good job of talking about both the pros and the cons here, which is what I like. But
Yeah, I agree.
I can read some of these off here.
Yeah, go
It
ahead.
says so these are the traits that nearly all ESTPs will have, and we mentioned earlier in this episode that there's a developed and an underdeveloped version of every type. And so these are the ones that, every ESTP is just going to have these, even underdeveloped ones. It says a great talent for reading people and knowing where they're at by just watching their behavior and mannerisms.
Hmm.
The ability to draw upon an extremely detailed and ready knowledge of the physical world around them at a moment's notice. A strong get after it mentality that causes them to get things done. They definitely are productive. If they like my coworker gets in these modes of productivity and then he gets in these modes of unproductivity. But it's like
Hmm.
when he's focused on the email at hand or on whatever the hell when he's talking to maybe someone else in the office about this idea of how to make the product better, he's into it and it's a productive discussion. But when he's in a slacky mood, it's just he's just gonna slack off. I don't know. A mental toughness which makes them extremely hard to beat. In any contest, the ESTP will almost always be the last man standing. Yeah, and then again, that's kind of contradictory to what I said earlier about their persistence. Is I do agree. I think they'll win if the contest isn't that long. I think if they do lack some kind of persistence where their boredom or variety gets in the way, and then you know I don't know.
Okay, so I have to bring this up. What do you think about the popular opinion that our president is an ESTP?
I wholeheartedly agree. I thought this was known as a fact. I've actually, what's funny you bring this up? I've argued people in comment sections about this fact and they're trying to call him an ESTJ or whatever. I thought it was well known that he's a ESTP. That's what
Hmm.
I thought. I don't know. I thought he was an ESTP from the start, but that's just
So
me.
So I think this will be interesting because I think that ESTPs can be mistyped sometimes. So, um, what do you think are the reasons that people think that our president would be an ETJ type? Because I've seen ENTJ and ESTJ. Why do you think that they would put him as an ETJ type?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to go back to these people in the comments arguing me. I don't have an issue. I mean, this is one thing about MBTI is people sometimes disagree on famous
Mm.
people's stuff. Uh,
Which is understandable.
yeah, but I don't know. I have no clue because
I would say, well, ESTJ to me just seems that's just silly to me. But ENTJ, I do understand that. I think that people see him as like this commanding type. They think of like they'll automatically think of someone like Napoleon Bonaparte or something that's like supposedly an ENTJ, but I don't even think he's an ENTJ.
Hmm.
Um, or they'll think of him as like this business savvy man, like basically that he does have like certain intelligence to him, and like I don't know. The thing is, like, ESTPs, just like any other type, yes, there might be more like I don't know, statistically there could be more intelligent people of a certain type, but I don't think that's the case. And obviously he's done a lot of stupid things too, but I personally think he's an ESTP as well. But it's hard for me to explain,
I
but I
mean,
do understand why people see ENTJ.
I see multiple websites right now. Like This one I've never even been on before, and you click ESTP, and the first one that comes up is Donald Trump.
Hmm.
It's got Miley Cyrus on here.
You know
What?
who else I think is an ESTP is Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, yep. She's
I
also
agree
on
with
this
that.
list. She's on this list.
She, I think, is a really, if you watch her interviews of how she takes on a role, like for example, Laura Croft, how she explains how she gets into everything and how she wants to do all her own stunts and how it's just so ESTP. I think she's a really good example of a healthy ESTP, to be honest.
And that
Yeah,
can definitely be debatable too, as far as like a healthy STP. But
Oh.
yeah. We can get to these other traits here. One other ESTP on this list is Taylor Swift and Kevin Spacey
Mm,
too.
I don't know about Taylor
I
Swift.
don't know either.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense, but I guess she does kind of talk about relationships a bit too much for you to think about
Mm,
an
I
ESTP.
just think she has introverted sensing over extroverted sensing,
Yeah.
but we can talk about that at some other point. We might even could do like episodes where we type famous people. I think that'd be fun.
I mean,
Yeah, that would be interesting.
these sites are only so valuable, but Donald Trump, hey, first one on this list. We just got to throw it out there. I think everyone here agrees he's an ESTP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I definitely think, I mean, okay, I think the people that don't think he's an ESTP, let me know. Let us know in the comments below, because if you're watching this on YouTube, or even just let us know why you guys think he might be a different type. I think that's like interesting to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Winston Churchill was also an ESTP. I also
Yeah.
think that Theodore Roosevelt was an ESTP.
Oh yeah,
Those are the
Teddy.
ones thrown around. Yeah, those are the ones, the common ones. All right, so I'm gonna name off some more of these traits here for the developed ones. The ESTPs who develop their introverted thinking, the ability to recognize when others are uncomfortable or in trouble and deal with their problems.
Absolutely.
The ability to realize that there is value in meeting other people's needs in a real way. Hmm.
Hmm.
Developmental. ESTPs can make very good detectives or analysts. I could see that. A skill for understanding the behavior of people and predicting patterns. Introverted thinking, huh? I don't know enough about I know introverted thinking, but I'm not like a whiz on it, you know?
Hmm.
But an ability to make most of their winning capabilities over a long term. I could see that too, but it's not in the same way I would approach it. Uh,
See, and that's something that's interesting. Is that they're talking about a behavior and an outcome rather than a methodology. And I think what more is indicative of a type is their methodology, which they try to achieve their goals, not necessarily their ability to achieve a goal.
mhm.
I think that's a good point, Michelle.
But I mean, it can affect them like ENFPs. I mean, we have trouble finishing things, but we can work on that and get better.
That's funny, yeah. Potential problem areas, and then I'll stop reading this boring stuff to you guys. I already read the can be manipulative. May be unwilling or unable to plan anything in advance for themselves, or to follow others' careful plans. And you have to think though for a second why that would be, is because in their head it's actually better for there not be a plan. You know,
Right.
like they'll do better. Sure, that's I'm butchering this here. But yeah, they'll
No, I
get
think
better
you said that
results.
well.
You know.
Mhm.
Um, can be overconfident in their own cunning or ability, ignoring problems which eventually catch up with them on their blind side. I can see that too. Uh, may find it difficult or actually unwilling to follow through where an ongoing commitment is expected. Hmm, that's interesting.
I think that's just a problem that all perceiver types have,
Yeah,
or just all.
sometimes it does seem that way. Well, I think that this site does it based on the dominant function a lot
Mhm.
in my experience. Because they note that the problems are often they note that every type has the same problem. This is really that like the problem that types have is where they let their dominant function overtake the other functions, so that the
Yep.
other three functions just become slaves to the dominant one.
Yep.
and all the needs are just being served just to serve that dominant one. Whereas you
Yep.
really should let them all work together. That kind of seems to be an issue. But uh, in a relationship, in relationship situations, may be overbearing, demanding, and/or uncaring of the feelings of their partner. I think they don't do this all the time, but they have instances of doing this.
Yeah.
When alone or in reduced circumstances, may be subject to dark or morbid feelings about themselves. Damn, I didn't know that. I'm learning as I go. Look at this. Look at this.
By the way, I love the way you talk, Shaun.
Me
I could
too.
just listen to you all day.
May be unable to maintain employment for any length of time, losing credibility with potential employers or clients by job hopping. That's interesting too. I thought this was more of an INFP trait because I do know some INFPs that just can't hold a job to save their lives. Like their resume must look horrible.
I
Like
think that even INFJs can have that problem where they don't wanna stick to a job. I think it really depends on the reason why they don't stick to a job.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm only 20, but I have had 2 jobs and I keep them for like a year. You know what I'm saying? At least a year. Like that's the minimum. I'm probably gonna keep this one for a long time. Like I just when I find a job I like I just want to keep building. Like I just want to keep growing in it. I really optimize for because I don't know if it's a comfortability thing. I don't know what it is, but I don't know job hopping. I could see that being an ESTP thing. I could see that being an ESTP thing. May become so engrossed in challenging activities that they lose all sense of proportion, neglecting themselves and their relationships. Yeah, this is kind of what I talked about with my ESTP friend earlier,
Mhm.
who plays video games, where like when the game first drops, he is just nerding out on it. And
Right.
it's to the point where it's just incredible. Like I know you can't actually keep up with him. You actually can't. Because even if you play the same amount as him, he's playing more aggressively. So he's getting, you know what I'm saying?
Right, he's getting that kind of
Yeah.
experience.
So you kind of just have to let him get ahead, and then he'll get burnt out, and that's when you pass him in rank or whatever.
Mm.
Which is
Such an INTJ mentality.
it happens
I'll just let him play
every
and then
year.
I'll just catch up to him
Yeah, it
and
happens all the
defeat
time.
him.
Without challenges of their own, may become focused on the behaviors of others, particularly that of family or employees, insisting that they live up to what the ESTP sees as proper code or level of accomplishment. This happens to me because I actually work under the ESTP that I'm referring to, and sometimes he's just like focused on me. I'm like, dude, I'm doing the same shit I do every day. Like, how bored are you? Like, sometimes it
Hmm.
seems that way, but I don't know. I don't know. I'd say this isn't a common thing, but I'm sure it happens. I'm
What's
sure it happens.
interesting is that kind of reminds me of one of the things I really like about my boss is that he'll point out my weaknesses for me and be like, "Okay, this is what I want you to work on. Like this is your weakness and I want you to push yourself to get better at this because this is holding you back from like moving forward."
Yeah,
Like
that's
he'll
good.
be blunt like that. And it's really nice because it does help me a lot. He's helped me become better in a lot of ways because of that. Which I guess that weakness there could be a strength just depending on how they use it. Actually, I've noticed a lot of ESTPs can call out things in people when they're like, "This isn't serving you, this isn't helping you." They can call those kind of things out and be pretty, like, objective about it.
Yeah, that's why I said they like in the beginning I made that distinction where it's like they might seem like assholes, but they have a heart. They definitely have a
Absolutely.
heart. That's 100% true. So that's the end of the problem areas and stuff. I don't feel as if I should read anymore. I think we gave enough points there. Is there anything else you guys want to say about the type before we wrap this up?
How long have we been going so far?
We're getting close to an hour. A couple more minutes will be an hour.
I don't know. I mean, there's some really the ESTPs I know online are I really like Love Lou and Taylor and stuff. Can't think of other ESTPs right now, but yeah, and I've gone on a date with an ESTP before. I know that for sure.
Ooh.
And
Yeah.
how did that go?
So, he was very into fitness, you could tell. Like he was jacked, like completely jacked.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so that's why you went
No,
on a
no.
No,
date with
no,
him.
no. It was not. It was not. Actually, so just full disclosure, I think it okay. This sounds okay, never mind. I'm not gonna go into that. But I think it was Bumble or something. Might have been Bumble. It was either Bumble or Tinder. I'm pretty sure Bumble. And he super swiped me on Bumble.
Oh, super swipe. What does that mean?
So for
Like,
those of you that aren't on dating apps or you're not like familiar, someone so you can swipe right on someone and that means that you're matching with like you're trying to match with them. And then swipe left, you're not like you're not interested. And then there's like a feature on Tinder and Bumble and other dating apps where it's like you just click on it, or I don't even know, I don't use it. So but basically it's like it's putting your profile forward and saying basically, "Oh, I swiped right on you. Like I like you and I really want you
Mm.
to swipe right on me."
Talk about aggressive ESTP behavior. No.
So I just wanted to humor him. Also, he had ESTP in his profile, so I was like,
ooh.
so he knew he was an
Oh.
ESTP. I'm not just like even just like making this up. Like, oh, I think he's ESTP. He actually knew that he was an ESTP. It said that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Um, so we went on a date, and he was really nice. I forget what area of the army or military he was in. Like he was in it for a little while, and he was just telling me like how everything went with that and stuff.
Mhm.
And like he definitely had a very dominant personality, and I was just like listening to him, and I think he was like trying to read me the whole time, and I don't know, it was interesting. Personally, he wasn't for me, and I guess it might have been a looks thing, which is kind of maybe shallow. But also like he was nice, but I just felt like he was very aggressive.
Mhm.
Like he after the date, he was just I mean, which I guess if I liked him in that way, it would be different. But he was like wanting to plan our next date like really soon and like be like, yeah, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. And like say, and
Right.
I just like, yeah, I ended up just saying, hey, I don't see you in that way. I'm not interested. But he actually was really nice about it. He's like, thank you for letting me know. Cause
Hmm.
I like sometimes will tell guys like I'm not interested and they'll get really butthurt from it. But he was like really like appreciative that I even like was like upfront with him. So yeah.
Yeah, there's two things you said in there that I gotta bring up. One is about the fitness. That same coworker that I've been talking about, he is a fitness junkie. Like he's a gym rat. He is jacked, so to speak. Like he's got the supplements. His desk, like
Oh
we sit
gosh.
next to each other. He's got supplement. This one's glutamine. This one's and it's crazy. Like he's completely obsessed with fitness. This is a common thing. Yeah, I do think that's a thing. And the other thing I was gonna say is that about ESTPs is when I think of them, I do think of like a soldier, like people in the military. Like you would think of like a soldier. Like that is one that's like more of a this guy you were just talking about, Emily, is a stereotype. Like he's a true stereotype. Like
But
that
he
someone
was
someone bred him out of a factory.
I mean he really was in a lot of ways, but he also was like developing himself because he one of the things that he loved doing in contrast was he loved reading and just like learning. He was really into just reading a ton, and I really admired that about him. That he just wanted to know more about things and stuff.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, they do like to learn more and more about people. It seems like that one point that uh Michael Pierce made. Like they do prefer like street smarts or like just common knowledge because that's it, they'll actually get more value out of it. Like whereas I
Hmm.
prefer to read Reddit for 4 hours, they actually get more value out of just learning like the basics of. They'd probably actually rather just get real conversation in because they can utilize it, like truly get value out of it.
Yep.
You know, Just
I
suits them well.
agree with it.
But yeah. Anything else you guys want to say?
I think that's a good overview of the ESTP.
We touched about way more than I ever would have thought.
Right? We
Honestly.
had a lot more to say than I thought since we all
Yeah.
have like relatively limited experience with them.
Emily didn't seem to have too much experience with them. Well, she remembered that friend. You didn't talk about that friend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So he's German. Yeah. I mean, I don't. I'm gonna just name drop him. His name's
Whoa.
Julian. No, he's okay.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
names.
I didn't. So my no, this is not okay. Again, this is not the guy that I went on a date with. Julian is married to Rachel, which is Rachel's one of my best friends. I've been best friends with her. She's an INTJ. I've been best friends with her since I was 10. And then Julian, they started dating when they were 16.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, her parents were like really did not feel like he was the one at first because he was just so different. He was so blunt. He would go out in public and just like say like he kind of reminds me of Donald Trump in a way. Like not in
Yeah.
the like the bad ways, but just like in the bluntness. Like he would just like say under his breath like, "Oh, that person's fat," or something
Yeah,
like,
Donald
Oh.
Trump
like,
is a
or
fucking
just
savage.
like do some random like stuff where he just like would interact, and he's really into fitness as well. Like he's never been out of shape. So
Interesting. My boss is not that much into fitness, but he works on cars a lot. He likes working on hot rods. But my roommate is big on biking. Like he'll bike 100 miles.
Yeah.
Just like obsessed with biking. He's like a bike delivery, well, not my roommate anymore, but he's like a bike delivery driver.
I could see
Will
that.
bike like up in the mountains and stuff.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Gets all pumped for that shit.
But yeah. ESTPs, if you liked this episode, let us know. If you didn't, let us know. I like both. I like the negativity. I like it all. I want the criticism. I want the criticism. I
do value the criticism.
I just don't like
not
stupidity.
mean
All right.
for me. Yeah.
That's my issue. But no, I don't know. ESTP review on a scale 1 to 10, I'll give them like a. Me personally, I'll give them like a 6. I don't know. They're all right. I can deal with them.
Dang.
I have incompatibility issues with them. Like I said, no. Okay, put it this way: they're like a 10 of 10 when they're an acquaintance, but when I'm close to them, they're my least favorite type. Like when I'm close to them, they're my literally 16. I'd rather get closer to any other type because they just make your life so. Oh, it's just. But when I'm telling you, when it's just like a casual convo, they're like probably the best. So that's just my experience. Again, other people will have different experiences, but yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I actually feel like, at a distance, I don't feel like I would get along with an ESTP, but then when I'm closer to them, even like my friend Julian and like, people that I have gotten closer to, it's like I actually really love being around them.
Mhm.
Well, you should. They're your duels.
Yeah.
In socionics, guys. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I still haven't done any socionics homework.
Well, you will one day.
I still need
They're gonna
links.
force you.
I still need links. I'll drop the
But
personality page link for you guys, ESTP, in the description.
also, you guys should, if you haven't already, which hopefully soon we'll put this on other platforms as well, like listening platforms. But please subscribe to My Type of Shit if you haven't already on YouTube. And also follow us on Twitter. We should have all the links in the description.
For sure.
And Instagram. Again, we're just starting off, so some of that is a little rough, but it will get there. So
Yeah, it's just whatever socials we all use, because like we all use different socials. But yeah, YouTube's the main place to find us. I don't know if people. I don't know. Do we have any Spotify or what? What's the deal with that? Did you?
we'll get that. I mean, it's
Do we
actually
have
not
any other-
hard. It's not hard to do it. We do have a Twitter. We have a Twitter and an Instagram.
Okay. I can
yeah.
respect it.
So,
But all
but
right,
you can also go over to Shaun's channel, Mech, and subscribe. We'll have that linked. And I think you have your Twitter. What's your Twitter?
perception.
Yeah.
No spaces,
Yeah.
no nothing.
And then Michelle Wilson. Go over to Heart of
Hi.
Michi or Michelle Wilson and subscribe to her channel and then follow her on Instagram, Heart of Michi, right?
Mhm.
And then also, what is your Twitter again?
It's HM Wilson author.
Okay, yeah. And then all of my stuff is Pakoki if you want to follow me for whatever reason.
I couldn't be mainstream like you guys. Get a single and easy name for all of my medias.
I feel like mine
Also,
isn't
I don't
super
conform
easy
like
though.
that.
Yeah, you don't want to get into, you don't want to be in a box.
Exactly. I don't want to be limited.
That's
Yeah.
fine. But all right, people. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.